Hello, watch enthusiasts. Now, in the past, I've brushed on the topic of buying from original watch sellers, retailers, or buying on the grey market, but I've never done a video that covers it explicitly. And in this video, I'd like to clarify the bonuses, the plus points of each way of buying a watch, and the negatives, which are inevitable. Now, firstly, I'd like to talk about buying a watch from an authorized seller. Now, buying a watch from an authorized seller is when you buy directly from the brand, either on their website or by going into the shop, as you know. And this does offer a certain set of advantages which one doesn't get when one buys on what's known as the grey market, or the market on which watches are bought online, for example, on eBay. Now, firstly, one gets to try on the watch before buying it. Now, this may seem like something which is overrated, but actually it makes an incredible difference, because I've often seen people who've bought watches online and who haven't tried the watch on and receive it not really liking the way it looks. And this is really irrelevant of the size as well. Sometimes the watch simply looks different on paper, or in a picture, for example, or on your wrist. So actually, it's really worthwhile going into a shop and trying on the watch in question, which is something which I think is overlooked by a lot of people. They simply buy the watch without really having a chance to try it on and see how it looks with clothing, because there's nothing that's more irritating than buying a watch and it not fitting with the clothing that one owns, or not suiting one. Equally, one gets the opportunity to ask any questions. And yes, one can ask questions online, but occasionally one comes across things that one would like to know about a certain watch, and one can simply ask there and then about the watch in question, and ask particular details which a particular seller of the watch who is used to selling this particular watch regularly will know, and these are facts which they will have picked up, and they will have all the details that you need. Furthermore, one can often find that in a watch seller, you can actually get discounts. So if you go into a shop and you can actually haggle and get a much better price. So, for example, one can get easily £300 off a £3,000 watch. One can easily barter to pay less. And whereas in this increasingly online world where one can't have that communication with someone, this is really something refreshing and helpful. And for some people who really don't want to buy used, this can be a real help. Now, finally, having the details of the watch given to you there and then in the shop, so the papers, and having them stamped, can be invaluable. So, for example, recently, I bought my Oris Aquis, and I bought it on the grey market, and I received it, and some of my documents weren't stamped. So as a result, I won't be able to use my warranty if I ever have to have a service, even though the watch is still within its warranty period, because it wasn't stamped by the seller, and I don't know where the watch was bought. I don't know where. I don't know how to get it. Get a warranty repair. They simply won't accept it, and that can be a real punch to the face. Proverbially, if you buy a very expensive piece, have a problem with it, and then are unable to claim the warranty. Naturally, like anything, there are instances where this way of buying a watch isn't the best option, and the first of these points is the price. You will always, or pretty much always, pay more in a shop, even with a discount, than you would from an individual seller. Now, this is because, of course, being the brand, they can sell the watch to you, and I don't mean that in terms of price, I mean in terms of convincing you to buy it. So you will, 99% of the time, pay more from the dealer than from an individual. And some people would say that that's money well spent, and I would be inclined to say on an expensive piece, if you want to buy new, then this is a good idea, to spend a few £100 more and get that assurance. But again, if you're getting a particularly good deal and you're fully aware of how the watch has been treated, then I would go ahead with any purchase from another source. but this does give you peace of mind, even though you are paying more. Equally, the shop will try and sell you the watch in such a way that you'll buy it. So they'll tell you about the advantages, the pros, they'll tell you it looks nice on you, and so on. And they can often convince people into making a rash buy when they haven't really considered it. And this is something important to consider, and not to be swayed by salesmanship in these shops. No matter how nice the watch might look, one has to consider an expensive purchase before pulling the trigger. Now, despite all these advantages, a lot of people still buy from what is known as the grey market, which is eBay and Amazon, for example, which is where one buys from an individual. And the advantages of this are, well, clear immediately. A watch from Amazon or eBay, which is bought from an individual, will pretty much always cost a lot less than buying it from the retailer. Now, take this Seamaster 300 quartz on the screen now. That's a used timepiece, and it's very enticing to go for a Seamaster for £1,400. It's a very inviting offer. And actually, if you have good assurance that the watch is real, and the watch is already out of warranty, actually it can be extremely useful to check these sites before buying from an official seller. One other advantage of the grey market is that one can get hold of special items such as vintage watches much more easily. So, for example, take that 1601 Rolex Datejust. A lot of Datejusts and some of the older ones are highly collectible, and one can occasionally come across a really good deal on the grey market. And actually, seeing as these watches are out of warranty, you're not going to lose out on that warranty as a result of not buying from an official seller. And of course, some of these watches aren't sold by being vintage watches, they're not sold by sellers anymore. So one has to look at the grey market in order to purchase them. Now, of course, one can buy from a certified company, but often they will charge a very large amount of money for something which could easily be got for a lot less on the grey market. However, there is always the danger of picking up a fake watch, and this is a real danger of the grey market. Inadvertently, a lot of fake watches are sold to unsuspecting customers as a result of the grey market, where, for example, the watch doesn't have a serial number that should be there, or several things are off with the watch, and people simply don't notice, and end up buying a false watch for a very high price. Then the seller simply vanishes, and one is left with this watch which one's spent ridiculous amounts of money on, which isn't the real thing. And this can be extremely upsetting and frustrating for a buyer. And this is why, when buying used, I would often recommend making sure that where you're buying it from. So, for example, eBay has a number of rules in place in order to reclaim money reclaim money for products which have been bought which are in fact false. Now, again, my final point about grey market watches in terms of the negatives are that one isn't sure about the papers. Now, I've bought watches in the past where, as I said about the Oris, one buys it thinking that it has the full papers, but only after the return period has passed does one realise that in fact some of the papers don't quite have the correct stamps and so on to actually function as proof of purchase, and therefore validate the warranty. So one has to be extremely careful. Again, one has to be extremely vigilant with buying from the grey market, where one doesn't have to be in shops. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Several people have asked me to make a video like this, so I thought it would be right to make it. So thank you for watching. If you did enjoy the video, then please like, share and subscribe. This is Arm on the Watch Guy, over and out.